Hey guys, what's going on? I want to take the time to make a quick video because this whole thing is a mess. There's so much happening with the Luigi Mangione case, and it's still very much high profile. The murder itself took place about a year ago. So I'm recording this on December 8th of 2025, and the murder was on December 4th of 2024. So it's been a year, and this thing is still pretty messy. And so I want to make a video because this thing is so talked about. Basically, the whole world knows about what happened here. And because it's such a high profile case, I think it's really important that the truth is shared. Because depending on where you get your news, depending on where you get your source of information, your opinion on this matter is going to be wildly different from the person next to you. And neither of you are wrong. It's just that I feel like there's a lot of biases going around. There's a lot of convincing you to think one way or the other. And obviously, like everybody is entitled to their opinion. And I want all of you to have your opinion on this thing too, but only after you know the truth. And I feel like the media really kind of twist the truth depending on, what they want you to think and not think. And so I'm not here to be biased. I'm not here to shove my opinion anywhere. I'm going to try to not even talk about my opinion. I just want to be here to give it fair representation. Okay, so there's a lot happening. So I'm just gonna jump right in. And I hate to call this Exhibit A, but here we are. So I found this on Reddit, but this is a visual representation of everything that was inside his backpack. And sometimes his belongings are talked about in a way where, so for example, the zip ties, right? Depending on where you find the information that, like, oh, he was carrying zip ties, some articles will talk about it like he's carrying barbed wire, or something, a crazy torture device. But then other people will see this and they'll be like, no, like he's a hiker, and these things are used to kind of strap things to your backpack. He has batteries, he has gloves, and whatever else. And so, okay, like one party wants to say like he was a hiker and that's all this was. But also, I see the other side too, because that's a lot of money to go hiking. Um, fake fake licenses is something that's interesting to take when you go hiking. Obviously, you're not going to ignore the gun, the bullets, USB drives, and a passport. And so, depending on where you get your information, it's so wild. Like, I think, I doubt the public knows exactly what was in his backpack. They're going to know the three things that make him look good or the three things that make him look bad, but this was the whole thing. So, that is Exhibit 1. Now, here's the thing about the backpack, it might not even matter. It might not even matter because this whole thing was obtained without a search warrant. So here's the thing. If the police thinks that they're in immediate danger, then they don't need a warrant to look through your stuff or look through your house or whatever. But again, it has to be immediate danger. Like, repeat that in your mind as much as you need. Immediate dangerous situation is the only time that they can do things without a search warrant. And as far as we know, he was being very compliant when they got him in. I think it was a McDonald's where they found him. And the prosecution, their best argument lives inside this backpack. So a lot of this evidence, like bullets or the gun or whatever, like this stuff is really good evidence if you're on the prosecution side. But everything they have is all in the backpack. And what if the backpack is thrown out of discovery? That would be a pretty big bummer, right? Because here's the thing, like when they found him, they cuffed him up and he was secured and he was silent and sitting down and he was compliant. And at that point, nobody has a reason to search through this. Regardless of what side you're on, you cannot search through this. And here's the thing, like if they went through the proper channels or if they waited or whatever, I don't know the legal specifics, then there's no way that they could get this thrown out, because they followed like protocol. But now we don't even know. So that's why right now, like the biggest conversation is what is considered like evidence and what isn't. That's like the biggest battle right now that's happening. So with that being said, I don't have an Exhibit B, so I'm just gonna show you guys Google. I know a lot of you guys like looking at him, so I'm just gonna show you this picture while I talk about everything else that I want to talk about. So here's the thing. There's a lot of shaping the public opinion happening. If that's an activity or whatever you want to call it, to shape someone's opinion, there's a lot of that happening right now. The first thing that I've noticed is the notebook that he had, where he was jotting down stuff about, I think he wanted to like harm some other CEOs or something like that. And instead of them saying they found a notebook with his journaling or his notes, they said they found a manifesto. They keep saying the word manifesto. And think about it. Just the word itself, manifesto, carries a lot of emotional weight. When you hear manifesto, you think about a grand gesture that's going to happen. Maybe it's going to be declaring something dangerous or something horrific. And clearly that word is used to make him look bad. Like nobody typed that on their keyboard when they're writing their articles and stuff. Nobody accidentally writes the word manifesto. It's not something that we use in common terminology. Um, so things like that are used to shape public opinion. There's also a lot of misleading headlines depending on where you look. And I mentioned this earlier, but unless you do your own research, like you wouldn't have known about the warrant situation, like how I mentioned earlier, how like the backpack might not even be admissible in court. But you might not even know that because depending on where you get your information, these articles won't share those things with you because they want you to think one way or the other way. Same thing with the manifesto. So if you rely on just the news alone, it's not reliable enough. I think that's why a more conversation needs to be had on a topic like this. And I think the intention here behind those articles or the notebook or whatever, I think I think the big reasoning there is they want to shape the jury. They want to shape the public opinion. Um, because here's the thing, like if they spend like it's been a year since all of this happened, and if they're spending week after week, month after month, releasing these slight things to the media, to the news or whatever, they're slowly trying to confirm that guilty verdict without even having to fight, that whole jury battle right there. Even if the backpack gets thrown out or whatever, here's the thing, they're already building up ammunition now by calling him certain things or by labeling his belongings a certain way. They're trying to confirm that guilty verdict before any of it is even talked about. So these are all just slick things. And again, I'm not picking sides, but I'm just saying you have to be aware of what's happening and the way things are being talked about because these things matter. Now, with that being said, killing is obviously not something that like should happen ever, right? Like I'm not condoning it. I actually hate the fact that anybody died. But here's the thing, like have you guys heard about the Venezuelan drug, the boats? Where like they're coming to the US on these little shitty boats. I'm surprised they can even float. But they're coming to the US on these boats and apparently like they're filled with drugs and the US is like striking them. So it's not like Coast Guard, it's not like they're patrolling or anything. It's a literal strike to the boat and it immediately just goes up in flames. It's not even like subtle, it's so dramatic and drastic and they just blow these things up. Okay, so there's a point to this, I promise. So yeah, drugs are bad. We don't want drugs coming into the US. I live in the US. But yeah, we don't want drugs coming into the US. But at the same time, do you want people bombed? Like ask yourself, do you want another human life bombed, like blown up, turned into smoke and ash? And I doubt anybody genuinely wants that. I don't want that. You know, and so these things are considered war crimes. Like the fact that US hit that boat the first time and it blew up and there were two survivors clinging on the side of the boat. And at that time, those survivors are no longer a threat. They literally barely have a boat to like hold on to. Like half of them, half their bodies in the water. At that point, it's illegal to kill them. And if you do, that's a war crime. That's literally illegal. And the US does these things. You know what I'm saying? So here's the thing, like we can agree that drugs are bad while still saying like, hey, don't do war crimes. Like, yeah, drugs are bad. And the same thing might apply here too. Like we can all agree or disagree, doesn't matter, about like the healthcare policies or whatever's happening, but it doesn't mean that somebody had to die because of it. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make here. And again, I'm not picking sides. Regardless of what happens here, no one should have died. Like that's the only thing I'll share about my personal opinion is a death shouldn't have occurred. But yeah, I mean maybe he's valid in his thinking or maybe the public is. I don't care, but uh, you know, he has kids. Like this stuff is traumatic. Like it's not good. Um, let's see. I kind of lost my train of thought. Let me think. Um, but anyways, I think I've rambled enough about his situation. So I do want to touch on the healthcare piece just a little bit. So yeah, again, this is a mess. There's a war. It's all about the evidence and what can we keep, what can we not keep? Is it justified to kill, not kill? Blah blah blah. Like right, there's so much going on. But I think we also forget like why all of this happened. So keep in mind it happened because of those healthcare policies. And again, whether somebody had to die for it or not, I mean it's been a year and the conversation has been just about Luigi. It's been about his looks. It's been about his prison treatment. It's been about the backpack. It's been about everything about this case. But millions of people are still getting fucked over by the healthcare system. Like, I'm just curious as to why the attention never went there at all. Like, even if you wanted that guy dead or you didn't, why are there not articles saying, like, hey, we shouldn't have killed him, but can we talk about the healthcare stuff? Like, why are there nobody saying, like, hey, maybe he did it the wrong way, whatever, but maybe his drastic measure was what we needed to finally look at this issue that's literally killing millions of Americans every year. I work in the healthcare industry. I work on the data side. And so I get to see the numbers. And there are some medications that are absurdly expensive. When I say absurdly, there's some stuff for like spinal atrophy or certain cancer medications. And some of these are over $100,000 per dose. And you need like 4 to 5 doses a year. And then after a certain point, you still need 2 or 3 doses a year until you've recovered. Some of these prices, I'm telling you, are absolutely absurd. And regardless of what happens in this situation, regardless of guilty, not guilty, jail, whatever, I care about the healthcare piece. Like, is anything going to be happening different? And I know this stuff, yeah, it's a big deal. We talk about it, we complain, and then we don't think about it for a while. But here's the thing, like, until you have a loved one that's in a position where like they really fucking need medicine, or they're sitting there resorting to like ordering like illegal medicine off of like these offshore like bullshit like websites that operate out of Mexico or like out of like Asia or something, and they'll mail you like some form of a pill because you can't get it legally through the US system. You know, if you have a family member or somebody close to you that's going through that, you'll be like, okay, wow, like now I get why it's such a big deal. Now I understand that this is so fucking unfair. And also think about it this way, like this isn't a massive industry and their entire revenue stream exists because of ripping people off. Say that to yourself 100 times every morning if you need, but that's literally what it is. There's no sugarcoating it. It's an entire industry that exists solely off of ripping people off. I think that should be the main story here. Obviously, like I am curious about what happens to the backpack, what happens to him. So yeah, I mean, we're all gonna keep our eyes out to see what happens, but at the same time, like he might have started something big, and I just want to make sure that it stays big. I want to make sure that something comes from it, because imagine now, like right now it's December 2025. Say they figure out his shit in the next year or whatever, but then say the next 5 to 10 years go by and nothing different happens healthcare policy wise. What a fucking shame. That's somebody died for no reason. He went to jail for no reason. This whole public shebang, all of this is for no reason. And that industry that's profiting off of us sick people is still going to keep profiting. Nothing changes. So that's basically all I had to share. I will stop talking now. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about just this situation here. I just want to know, in one word or whatever, do you think he did it? Like, let's be real here. Do you think he did it? And God, I don't know if he did it. Let's see. I saw an image that looks a little okay. This image, right? So I was looking at this earlier, and you can kind of see like a little like nose, like it kind of like balls up here just a little bit. Maybe I'm making it up. I don't know. And I kind of see it here too. But at the same time, like I don't know, I genuinely don't know. But I would love to hear y'all's thoughts. So please drop them in the comments. Please keep it civil. And thank you for watching my video. Peace.